about a half an hour early. So I hope that doesn't bother anybody, but sorry if you were planning for 6. Had some things come up for later, so I wanted to get in here and just get it going early. And today's topic is another pretty important one, one that I was actually going to cover back in, I think, November initially, and ended up having some unexpected things happen, ended up having to push it back. And I chose to push it back all the way to January, so that is the one we're covering today, which is Platform Overload is the title, specifically talking about social media platforms and just kind of the overwhelm that comes with dealing with social media platforms as a music maker, using them, kind of having them shoved down our throats in a way, as far as, whenever a new platform comes out, you're usually told to jump on it right away, start posting immediately on there. Anything that's a big thing. Obviously, when TikTok dropped, that was the big thing that happened that everybody wanted to be a part of. And really, since the time of the pandemic, it's been a big thing that every time a new platform comes in, usually people will talk about it. Even if it's not for an extended amount of time, they'll talk about it. So I figured, being able to talk about how to deal with, burnout from it, just kind of like knowing the signs of that and like where you can not really improve on, but where you can kind of focus on, and learning like which platforms to pick that are the best for you, because you don't always need to be on every single platform. Sometimes you just need to pick one or two, just focus on there and find your audience through there too. So today we're really going to talk about, the burnout side, tips for coping, things like that. And I found 2 articles this week. One of them is by Berkeley, which is the one we're going to be going over today. And the other one is by Calm, which, if you guys have ever used the Calm app, it's a great way to help with your sleep schedule, help you get sleep. And just, if they have meditative practices, things like that. You probably heard of it. It's pretty popular. But we're mostly going to be going over the Berkeley one today. And the Berkeley one is called How Social Media Burnout Affects Musicians. It says, with TikTok and Instagram in place as career-making platforms, artists need to learn when it's time to log off. And this was from 2.5 years ago. It was published in September of 2022. So a little bit older, but again, all these things are still the same. As of today, we're like 5 days away from figuring out if TikTok is even going to be around in the US anymore. Because I think Congress is once again trying to pass a bill to pretty much ban TikTok in the US. So we'll see what happens with that. But I still think it's very relevant to talk about it, even if it doesn't pertain to TikTok, as it pertains to any type of popular platform where you would utilize the tools of social media. It says, while many musicians daydream about touring the world, the reality and challenges of touring life are well documented. One doesn't need to read too many interviews with famous bands to catch anecdotes about the levels of exhaustion can exist alongside the allure of stage lights, green rooms, and adoring fans. That's why tours are scheduled with breaks and nights off. The need to slow down or pause for self-care is built in. Social media engagement on platforms such as TikTok and Instagram have become a new kind of touring, a sense that they provide that elusive viral moment. While established artists work hard to maintain their momentum, what was once an artist's choice to be digitally present has become nearly universal expectation. But the lines separating online from offline are notoriously blurry. As a creator, there's pressure to create infinite content to populate the infinite scroll. In fact, there's a strong chance many musicians are using their nights off from tour to work on their next TikTok video. enter the idea of digital burnout, exhaustion, and mental strain that can plague the extremely online. Christopher Ware's assistant chair of the music business management department says that social media management is both an art and a science. Becoming proficient can be a steep learning curve. Below, Wares discusses digital burnout. Much like dealing with many kinds of mental health issues, how self-care and awareness go a long way toward maintaining a healthy balance. So this is a pretty in-depth article. I'm not going to go into the main body of this article because I want to get to where they give the tips and strategies, but I'll cover lightly what they talk about throughout this. I'll kind of save it for you guys to check out during the YouTube replay because the link will be in the description as always. So the first section of the article, it says, while the term digital burnout sounds somewhat self-explanatory, could you help explain what it means in context for musicians? And then Christopher Wares goes into detail about, how does that apply to you as a music maker? Because obviously, social media burnout could happen to anyone, especially any creative or anybody that uses social media every single day. The burnout could easily happen no matter who you are. But he kind of gives reasons why it's specific to music and what that means for artists, especially artists that are brand new, or maybe they just became super popular or they had a viral moment where now they're trying to capitalize on going viral. What is the move from there? Because you could face burnout super fast if you're expected to pump out content daily. So he just kind of goes into that, and he goes into some numbers mostly from the years 2020 through 2022, because like we said earlier, TikTok especially spiked up during the pandemic, and it really just kept steadily rising. For independent artists too, is a big thing. That just being able to chase the viral moment was a big thing, because a lot of people went viral during that time, so everybody else was trying to kind of get on board. The next section of the article says, in your experiences with students, what are some examples, indicators of digital burnout that you observed? So this whole article is kind of like a Q&A, so it might have been during an actual lecture. I'm not really sure because it is a Berkeley article. But then he gives some examples such as cyberbullying, online trolling, ineffective use of tools, lack of work-life balance, poor health habits. These are all contributing factors to what would cause burnout on social media, all very relevant. Next up was, how would you describe the growing relationship between labels and social media platforms, particularly TikTok? So literally just this week, you guys have probably heard of this, LiAngelo Ball, who is LeVar Ball's son, LaMelo, and forget the other one's name. There's a lot of these. There's a lot of brothers that are all LeVar Ball's son. A few of them play basketball, but LiAngelo is like the middle child. We just put out a song like a week ago that's currently like the biggest viral song there is. I don't know the name of it per se, but everybody's talking about it. Def Jam just signed him to a deal literally like yesterday because of this song. And to me, that's a great example of the labels kind of chasing the viral moment. They're really desperate to get anybody in the door, and they're going to chase what is popular and trending in the moment. So that's a big thing that just happened. But he goes into detail on that, on like why labels are doing that, why they're looking at platforms like TikTok, because that's where, they can make, I don't want to say a quick buck, but kind of like a quick buck. They could get people talking and get eyes on their label if they associate themselves with these artists. So literally, like I said, that just happened. I don't know the name of this song. You probably do because it's all over the internet. It's not really, not really a song I enjoy because I've heard part of it already. But yeah, that's what I think of when I read that part of the article. So it says some artists and managers have begun to speak out about the pressure to create viral moments on a regular basis. How realistic are these expectations? And he basically talks about how, there is no formula at the end of the day. People think that there is a formula, and sure, there are maybe steps you could follow that other people have done that might help you a little bit as far as, creating content and kind of getting you where you want to be. But if you're just trying to go viral, which I personally don't ever recommend making content for that reason. But if you are, I can't judge you. It's your own decision. He's saying that there is no formula. It's a mix of talent, a little bit of luck, creativity, the right timing, all that stuff. It's everything mixed into one. Needs to align exactly the way you need it to. Or maybe that you don't need it to, and maybe then that's what'll happen. It'll happen unexpectedly. But he basically just gives people that realistic look at saying that, it is not something that you could just formulate in a bottle, you know what I mean? And he talks about kind of the importance of, allocating these tasks to other people too. If you have a manager, if you have a team, don't be afraid to utilize other people's help in these tools to kind of assist you along the way, and come up with strategies too, whether it's on your own or with a group or a team. There are different social media strategies that can work very well. And this kind of brings me to what we're going to go into, which is, it's toward the end of the article, and it's the tips that he gives for musicians as they navigate this relatively new way of growing their audience. It says the more we've learned about the issue, the longer the list of resources has grown. I'm certain that trend will continue, but for now, this is a good representation of healthy practices. So this is really what I wanted to share with you guys today. This is the tips, advice on what to do to avoid this burnout, to avoid having this happen. Number 1 says make use of each platform's health and wellness tools, such as TikTok's digital well-being features or Instagram's break reminder. I've never used those personally, but they do help limit screen time. They help you keep track of your progress. Another way you can check your screen time, off the top of my head, if you have iPhone and you go into your applications, you can check screen time every single day, like how long did you spend on a certain application. And then if you see that, one of those applications is way too high, chances are you want to kind of figure out a way to limit yourself from being on there that much every single day. Maybe just track your progress. Like if you've been on 5 hours today, maybe your goal for next week is to get it down to 2 hours. And then maybe the week after, maybe you want to get it to like an hour or 45 minutes. Just kind of limiting your screen time and limiting the endless, like it said earlier, the endless scrolling. Because you can get lost in just going through other people's content. It'll take you away from, the reason why you're there in the first place is to post your own content and share with other people. You're not necessarily there to always be engaging in other people's content, even though it is somewhat addicting and it is like, you get serotonin boost. It's important to realize like why you're there. So limiting screen time. Take regular breaks, work on breathing, meditation, go for a walk, exercising as well. All of these could be a big thing. Like we said last week during the seasonal depression stream, right now for a lot of people, you can't go outside. Like right now I'm looking at a bunch of snow out my window. I can't go outside really and walk. It's super cold, snowy, but I could work on other things like meditation or just breathing exercises. So like find what you could do every single day and just do that, because those are great alternatives. Learn about the best practices on social media, conferences, courses to improve efficiency and increase productivity. I'm sure there's many master classes, there's many tutorials on YouTube. When I learned a lot about, marketing for music, using social media, those are things I learned was really just, the best practices for the times. They kind of update every year though, based on what is popular and how these platforms change as well, because even the biggest platforms are changing constantly. You know that if you use Instagram, if you use Facebook, they update their algorithms all the time. They update how you can utilize the app, what you can post, rules and regulations. They're always updating. I'm personally not a fan of how much they update, because I think sometimes the updates kind of, it almost makes the app worse. But that's not for us to decide. We kind of just have to live with it because we're on somebody else's platform at the end of the day. But just kind of, keep up with what's going on. That would be my advice. Like, keep up with the changes as much as you can. But like I said, they're changing stuff every day. So just do your best and don't be hard on yourself, and just kind of learn from others. And if you can even ask for help or ask for advice on like how to pursue certain aspects of social media, I would recommend doing that too. Set objectives, then focus on creating a system. In other words, create a routine or set habits and a schedule that is easily manageable. Social media planning is something I live by nowadays. I plan all the way. I have most of this year pretty much planned as far as like my Instagram posts, things of that nature. It's just something that helps a lot. You stay ahead of the game. You don't have to worry and stress yourself out about it when the day arrives, thinking, what am I going to post? What kind of caption am I going to write? What kind of hashtag should I use? If you have this stuff planned out beforehand, you'll be good to go. You won't have to think about it. We've talked about that in past streams. The importance of planning. You can use your notes app in your phone. There's apps like Metricool that you can use where it will actually be a social media scheduler. You can even post to different platforms at once if you want to. Whatever helps for you and whatever works for you. I think that's what you got to do, and just research that. But planning goes a long way, and it'll definitely help avoid a lot of the pitfalls of dealing with this kind of stuff. Utilize social media management tools like Hootsuite, Sprout Social, etc. I've heard of Hootsuite. I've never used it before. I'm not really even sure what it does, so you'd have to look that up. I assume it's kind of like Metricool that has kind of the same tools where it just gets you organized, gets you ready for, the day-to-day or the week-to-week, whatever you're doing planning-wise on social media. And another thing that I do, I don't even plan all my posts. Some posts I do just kind of on a whim, like organically, or just if I come up with an idea last minute, maybe I'll just post that myself. But the stuff that I plan months in advance, I'm obviously plugging that in, writing the captions in advance, figuring out even what time I want to post things during the day. So you could even have a mix of both, but I would check out Hootsuite. I'd check out Sprout Social, because I'm not familiar with either one. I have heard of Hootsuite, but I don't know what it does. Just check those out. Create a space and workflow to easily set up and record content. That could be, I think about like home studio, desk, some type of like office in your living space, whether it's an apartment or your house, wherever you live. Like, just have a little space to get the creating done. You could have your laptop set up. You could have a phone stand, maybe a little ring light to do videos and photos. You could even have like a portable aspect to that setup that kind of lets you move from place to place, maybe a little rig or something. That you can take your phone. If you have a camera, you can use that too. Just come up with like an efficient way of making the content. Like, don't make it so hard on yourself. Don't have hundreds of different devices where you record your stuff. Like, I would keep it as simple as a phone and probably one other camera, maybe two. If you're a photographer or something, maybe you have more than one camera. But if you're just making stuff for Instagram and TikTok, your phone can honestly get the job done. Like, just don't overthink it. Don't clutter yourself with a bunch of tools that you don't really use. Just kind of keep things separated and keep things organized. Get support from a social media manager, friends or family. If in a band, distribute and assign tasks amongst the different band members, which we talked about earlier. If you have an actual manager, they'll probably be able to help you out with that. And then you can kind of delegate tasks to other people within your team, however big it is. Another little hack that I discovered through doing courses on my own was actually hiring a virtual assistant. You can do that on Upwork or Fiverr, any of those sites where you can hire people. If you go there and you search for a VA or virtual assistant, try to find somebody that specializes in social media content creation, and you'll find a lot of people. And I would interview these people. I would ask them questions based on what you're looking for, see if they are a good fit. Maybe hop on a video call with them too. Like, have a real conversation. And it could be someone you've never met, could end up being the one that works for you and makes your content. I don't know. It just depends on how much time you have in a day. I still do everything myself personally. I don't have a VA, but I've heard that VAs can help people, especially when they don't have the time in the day. Maybe they have a lot of other things going on. So I think that's something that's worth looking into. And like I said, you can go to Fiverr, you can go to Upwork, just create a job listing, see who you can get, start interviewing people, and you will find someone cool, I hope. So yeah. Address any limiting beliefs or misconceptions about social media. For example, success on social media requires having to participate in all of the trends, regardless of whether they align with your brand and artistic integrity. The reality is that artists can create and publish content that is authentic to their brand and aligned with their values without having to use features or participate in trends that go against those. I've said this many times on my show, just in general. The whole reason I'm able to create as frequently as I do and have so much fun with it is because I'm just doing what I want to do at the end of the day. I'm not looking at what anyone else is doing. I might get some inspiration from what someone does, but I'm still just doing my own thing and just having fun with it. It's supposed to be fun at the end of the day. Again, don't overthink it. Like, don't do too much. Don't try to be somebody else. Just be you, and that will attract the right people. I've talked to so many artists that they've turned social media into a terrible place, and that's what they have in their mind, and so they won't even give it a go. But if you can make this stuff fun and find the joy in this stuff, then I think it'll be a lot easier for you to find your niche and really just be able to make content that is good for you, but good for other people too. And that's really what I found, because I was the same way, 7-8 years ago. Didn't want to post on social media, didn't want to show my face, didn't want to do any of that stuff. But the more that I've done it now, it's just second nature, and I actually really enjoy doing it. It doesn't feel like a job to me at all. It just feels like part of what I'm doing to build my brand and get my music out there, but also help other people too. And that's part of doing this Twitch stream, is to help other people. It's not necessarily something that I would just do because I have to. It's because I want to do it, and want to help other people. So just keep that in mind. Do not focus solely on creating highly produced content. that requires large amounts of time and resources. A useful perspective is to think of documenting rather than producing. Behind the scenes, authentic content generally creates the highest level of engagement. Again, especially if you're just doing stuff for Instagram and TikTok, just use your phone. There's apps like CapCut where you can edit videos together for mobile. You don't need Adobe. You don't need a bunch of fancy video editors to just do content. And I agree with that 100%. I've heard that before. People are going to relate to the stuff that looks real, that feels real, and not something that feels, fabricated or just like super. They want to feel the human side of it, you know what I mean? They want to be able to find that relatability to it. Not to say you can't do anything that's produced, but I think what they're saying is if it's just daily pieces of content, just go in there and make stuff, man. Just go in there and like I said, have fun with it and figure out, how are you going to inject your personality into it. Just show the human side, keep the human element involved. Focus on meaningful social engagement and real connection instead of likes and followers. Everybody gets lost in the numbers, whether it is likes, whether it is followers. That stuff does not matter. It just matters who you can connect with, who you can have genuine support for, and who's going to give you genuine support in return. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but sometimes it's good to have that reminder. And the final one is be aware of cyberbullying and online trolls. Negative or hurtful comments are all too common online. And it is important to not take these personally or engage. One thing I learned from Adam Ivy, who I would consider kind of an indirect mentor. I took his Sell Music Master class back in 2018. Kind of got me set up on my journey toward doing what I'm doing now. One thing I learned from him was just block these people. Straight up, just block them. Don't respond to them. Don't give them any time of day. Just straight up go to the little setting thing on their profile and just block them immediately. Done. Move on with your day. Don't give these people the energy that they're looking for, because they're looking for you to get in an argument with them. They're looking for you to respond, get angry, because they're feeding negative energy and they want you to have that negative energy in return. So the best thing to do is just to block them and move on, even though it's hard. I understand, and a lot of us want to, put these people in their place and be just get after them. But I can promise you, it's definitely not worth it. It's not a good, way to spend your good energy on someone that is trying to bring you down. So I always remember that anytime I see any type of comment like that, or anyone trying to get in an argument, it's just like, I don't have time for you, man. Whatever you got going on, it's got nothing to do with me, so I'm just going to move on. And I either block them or just delete the comment, whatever you want to do. They both work pretty well. Usually if you delete the comment, they're not going to comment again because they're already on to the next person. So it really doesn't matter. But that's definitely a big one that I think people can overlook. So yeah, that is the article. Like I said, it's called How Social Media Burnout Affects Musicians from Berkeley.edu. So check that one out. And then, like I said, I'll leave this Calm article. Let me check this one out real quick. Just tell you guys what this one is. This one is called Suffering from Social Media Overload, 7 Tips to Help You Cope. And it's kind of similar stuff with a few different things mixed in. This one doesn't apply directly to music makers because Calm, like I said, is something anyone can use. But they go in depth on social media overload, the consumption of social media excessively, and how that can affect your mental health, how to cope with social media. This one is pretty extensive. I'd argue that this one is more extensive than the other one, and this can help you not just as a music maker, just in general, day to day, using social media as a consumer and as someone that makes content too. So I think that one is super awesome. You're definitely going to want to check that one out as well. But that's pretty much it. I mean, that's, like I said, we could probably go on for days about this one because it is a great topic, and I'm glad we covered it. Sure, we can do more on this in the future, but we have reached almost a half hour mark at this point. Like I said, sorry for starting early. I don't know how many times I'm gonna have to start early coming up. I'll try to, like I said, keep aiming for Tuesday, so we'll see about that. But we'll be back next week on the 21st. And I'm actually going to be going over the vinyl record pressing, which I'm very excited about. I actually just got my new album called Unknown Advantage on vinyl. They're actually sitting right back here. I'm not going to get it because I'm going to save it for next week. But I'm going to show you guys the vinyl that I had made. And we're going to go over how to create your own vinyl album, because I actually just launched the sale for those this week. And a lot of people asking me, what did I do? How did I do this? How did I make my own vinyl? So I'm going to go into my experience with it and give you guys some different websites where you can go make your own vinyl record as well. Super cool, super exciting stuff. But again, thank you guys for tuning in. These 2 articles are going to be in the YouTube description, the replay. Check those out. But until next week, stay warm, stay healthy. Hopefully you guys aren't getting sick out there. But stay warm, stay good, and we'll see you next week. Thanks again for tuning in.